Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Shua Allegra, author, speaker, publisher, life coach, and counselor. And today I'm interviewing a new friend. I have Chandria with me. And so I'm going to give her a chance to introduce herself and let us know a little bit about who she is and what she does.
Hey everyone. So my name is Chandria Taylor and I am a kindergarten teacher in St. Louis, Missouri. I am a writer, a singer, a pianist. I'm a mom of babies on earth. I have one angel girl in heaven. I'm married and I'm just excited to be here today.
Well, you are one busy woman and definitely a woman of many
Yeah.
talents. I have my youngest is in first grade right now, and since the pandemic, we've been doing online school, and I honestly I have a deeper much deeper appreciation for for all the teachers. I don't know how the
Oh my
kindergarten teacher were
gosh.
doing. I'm like I can't even manage first grade right now, and and I have the curriculum everything given to me, and it's so hard. So thank you. I mean,
It
hands
is
off,
a
hands
lot.
down for all that you guys do, all the teachers
Thank
out there. So
you.
thank you. But it's on top of such
Thank
a
you.
challenging career, you are writing and you are, I didn't even know about all the other, artistic outlets that you
Yeah.
have and skills, singing and being and playing a piano. So thank you. Thank you for making time for this. Obviously, you have 20 million other things you could be doing. So I appreciate you making time to do this with me.
No problem.
Yeah. So how did you get into writing?
So I honestly have been writing my whole life. As a child, I mostly wrote just kind of like poetry, but I never really saw it going anywhere. Just something that I just love to do. Um, but I would say my first book came from after my daughter passed away 2 years ago. Um, sorry, my daughter's in the background. Uh,
It's
after
okay.
of
That's
my
real life.
yeah,
Family first
yeah,
always.
exactly. Yeah, after my daughter passed away 2 years ago, I really I had started going to counseling. My therapist told me to start journaling, and so um, I began journaling. And so once I started to journal, I realized that my story was a lot bigger than me, and that I never knew how much I had to say until I put a pencil to a piece of paper. And so that is where my
Mhm.
first book came from, was my story of child loss, and then from there it has just really taken off.
Right, right, yeah. And thank you for sharing that. And again, I feel for you. I never walk in those shoes, but I've walked alongside others who have journeyed, that similar
Yeah,
journey as you. So my heart goes out to you and your family. Much love, and
thank
yeah,
you, thank you.
yeah. And so thank you also for taking, often people think, oh, when something is so raw, it's so hard that I shouldn't share it. And we don't realize that I think that often the stories that impact us the most personally are the one that also tend to inspire others the most.
I agree.
Yeah. And once
I
you get
definitely agree.
and then when you get started, it's like this is snowball effect. Like I started writing, I can't stop writing. If I don't write, people, I have people literally emailing, texting, and messaging me like, "When's the next book coming out? When is the next collaboration?
Yep.
Are you doing anything else new?" So it's yeah. Once you start, you just can't stop. So thank you again for embracing
Nope,
that
you
journey as
cannot.
well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. So is as you've been writing, I know like your first story, your first book, like say came from that losing your child. And now
Yes.
all the other things you're writing right now. First of all, maybe first we'll ask that what are you currently working on? And then we'll go to the question that I wanted to ask.
Okay. So my first book was about losing a child, and then from there, I was like, man, like this has really affected my kids too. And so my second book was started out to be a children's book, and I wrote about my oldest daughter and all the silly, fun things she said about losing a sibling. And
Mm,
then my third children's book was about both of my daughters and just the emotions that children feel when they lose someone that they love. So I did those three books, and I was like, man, I like this concept, but I started thinking about like myself, my own personal journey, just like as a human being. And
mm.
it was on my heart. Oop, can you see me?
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're good. No.
It was on my heart, and I was thinking about whenever I was a child and how just insecure I was. I grew up in a predominantly white community, and so there was a lot about me that I did not love. And so I was like, man, if I could write a book and just teach young Black girls that self love is real love. When you learn to
Mm,
love yourself, like there's nothing that anyone can tell you about yourself that you won't, that you won't believe.
mhm,
And so I started the book, The ABCs to Loving Me. And so that
I
was my
love it.
last book that I just released. And it has, it's just really has taken off. And so from there, the mom's like, okay, well, there's for the girls, what about the Black boys? What about the Black boys? So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, here we have it. So now I'm working on the ABCs to Black Boy Joy. And so it's not done yet. It is still in the process, but that is what I'm currently working on right now. Is a book for the boys.
Love it. Love it. Oh my goodness. I love that. And yeah, and for everyone listening, we will share your links so that they can, everybody can check out your books. I know that I am waiting
Yeah.
for that book for the boys as well. My boys, my black boys are 9 and 7, and they know we can all use that as a teaching tool. And also just for them, I think not only we can go on and on with all this, but there is definitely disparity, in literature in general, in the arts in
Yes.
general, so
Yes.
I am very intentional. Yes, like you, I grew up, when I was younger, especially in the predominant white community. I was raised by a white mother, and so although even when
Mm.
I was when she came to Africa, I didn't fit in as an African being raised as a white mother, and when I came to the U.S., I didn't fit in as a Black African. The only
Yes.
African American was truly African, came from no, came right from Africa. Being raised by a white mother, and as I grew up, I have both cultures, but because I was exposed, if you want, to American culture at such a young age, and that's a lot of my values come from there. Maybe not. I
Hmm.
try now that I'm older, to find the balance, right? What I like about my African culture, what I like about my American culture, and combine
Yeah.
the two. And my kids are growing as such. And but also where we lived, most of our lives, most of my kids' life, they've always been the only Black church and the only Black family in the church, for example. And
Yeah.
so they've seen themselves more as a minority, until now that we live where they're seeing more more people of color, and it's it is good to see that. So I'm very
Yes.
intentional as I'm exposing my kids and raising them, that I can promote inclusion in everything. So I love buying
Yeah.
books written by minorities. I want myself and my kids to see ourselves on TV, in books, in magazines.
Yes.
It's like we know
I
representation
love
matters,
that.
right? So if I don't
It
see
really
me in what
does.
I'm looking at, then I feel like I don't belong, so
And that's exactly, even being a teacher, I teach at a predominantly African American school. And so I'm very intentional about when we're reading books, when we're watching videos. If I don't see Black children in the videos, I'm probably not going to play. I really want to make sure they have opportunities to see themselves in whatever it is,
yeah.
that we're doing. And so I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So true, so true. Oh, yeah. You and I will probably have to do another episode just an inclusion.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work around that as well. So, that include diversity and inclusion. It's something that's really hard, close to my heart as well.
Yes.
So back to the writing. So, is there something that do you know now that you wish you knew back then when you wrote that first book a couple years ago?
Oh,
That's
I
always a
would
tough one.
say that it is. I would say honestly that I think in my first book, I kind of held back a lot because I was so afraid of what others would think, what others would say, whether they would support it or whether they would not. I wish that I just would have wrote it anyways, regardless of what
Yes.
anyone opinion or anyone's thoughts were about the writing, just to do it anyways. And so I think that now I'm at a place in my writing where I write because I love it. I don't write because someone else wants me to, or,
Mm-hmm.
they or I'm sharing someone else's story. I write because that's what I choose to do. So I wish that I would have done that with my first book, is just do it anyways, regardless of what anyone else thinks, whether they support it or not, whether they buy it or not, write it anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good advice. I think when we start anything new, right, there's just all these questions and doubts and fears, and it's natural to be like,
Yes.
okay, I'm gonna kind of tiptoe around the issue that I want to talk about, or
Mm-hmm.
not be, not fully disclose, what I'm thinking, but just kind of, test the waters, right? And for
Yes.
anyone listening, we all been there, we all been there. But as you grow into your craft, you realize that the best gift you can give the world is being authentic. It's being who you are,
Yes.
and then those who associate with who you are going to cling to you no matter what. There's pieces
Yes.
that I've written, I'm like, I didn't even like it, but that's the piece people refer to the most, and you're like, wow. But there was things that were where I was
Yeah.
raw. I was my authentic self, and people like, this is the shoe that we never seen, right? That we never saw, that we
Yeah.
and people want that. People want the real you because
Yes.
think about it. There's so many people out there who are already trying to be someone else. And there's so many of us who are hiding who we are. Maybe we're not trying to be someone else, but we're just hiding parts of us that we think will be controversial. Controversial. We kind of hide us. Like we'll just be neutral. Yes.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that, just causing trouble for the sake of causing trouble. But if people who want to read the real you, they want to read your real thoughts. And that's what connects them to you. It's the reality of it, of your writing.
Yeah.
Whether you're writing,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's fiction or nonfiction, it doesn't matter. But your thought process comes through those pages, and that's what people
Most
want.
definitely.
They want to open something and say, oh, this is different. Right? Oh, I associate with this.
Yes.
I can see where she's coming here. Maybe because I don't understand what she means here, but I love the way she explains it. Makes sense now. So
Yeah.
be yourself. Be yourself. And like you said, some people might not like it. Some people might, but the one or two people that you're meant to connect to will connect to you because your message matters
And
more
that's
than even
exactly it.
any other things that we use to embellish that message.
Yes, I totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah. So, is there any other advice or suggestion that you will give any no, new authors out there who are like, oh, I'm just getting my feet into this. I'm not sure, where to go, how to start, and and again, all back to all those doubts and questions, right?
Yeah. So the first thing that I did when I decided that I wanted to write a book was I found someone who had already written a book,
Hmm.
and I just asked them everything that I wanted to know. And so she sat down with me, had a meeting, and the one thing that I really took from her was to set time to write and have that
Hmm.
schedule for yourself. Because if you don't have that schedule, if you don't put yourself on a deadline, you could probably be 2, 3, 4 years down the line wishing you would have wrote that book
Yes.
the year that you said you're going to do it. So really be intentional about setting a schedule for yourself. For me, I had to write when my kids went to sleep at night because I'm a mom
Hmm.
of babies under 5. So there's not a lot of free time in the day. So for me, I wrote mostly at nighttime or early morning before everyone woke up. I had to find that time of the day where it was quiet and I could focus.
Hmm.
So I really say that. And another thing I would encourage, like I said earlier, is to set a deadline for yourself. Give yourself a goal. By this month, I want to have chapters 1 through 3. By next month, I want, whatever that looks like for you and whatever you're trying to do. Give yourself a deadline. Give yourself, I guess, kind of thing like a schedule so that you
Hmm.
um, know what you want to achieve and you have those goals set for yourself. And lastly, I would say, kind of how we talked about earlier, is just be authentic and be you in your writing. You have a voice, and I also believe that your voice matters, your story matters, regardless of what that story looks like, regardless of what it is. There's someone out there who needs to hear what you have to say. And so whether that's one person, whether that's a million people, um, it matters. And so never not share your story.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you for sharing that. And
No problem.
what you said there, it's so key. I can't tell how many. So with writing, I also published, and met so many people who will come to me with stories that have been sitting for years and years. Because again, when you don't
Mm-hmm.
have accountability, when you don't have a schedule, it's hard. And like, well, I said schedule, then I just go back to like, I'll do it later, I'll do it. And it's like, this afternoon becomes tomorrow, tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and then
Yes.
next year. And so I tell people,
Yes.
even when you feel like I don't need anyone, we often tell ourselves, I don't need anyone to help me with this. I can do this. But for the sake of accountability, I really encourage you, get with a coach, get with someone that can hold you
Mm-hmm.
accountable. So that's, I do a lot of that with my clients. I'm like, from the like, oh, I think from the time they reach out to me, I think I want to write this book. I'm like, okay, let's set some dates. I'm like, oh, I'm not ready yet. I say, well, that's why we set some dates. We can set them ahead of time, but it helps you to know like this is a
Yep.
target we're going for. And things happen, life happens. We can tweak here and there, modify as we need to. But setting a date and having someone that holds you accountable really makes a big difference. And sometimes just sitting down with someone, like you said, who've been there. I often say,
Mm-hmm.
if I need to have surgery, I want a doctor who have been there, done that, right? Who has some experience.
Exactly.
Maybe they never had the same surgery that he's performing on me, but that he had experience doing on others, and then I have success stories that
Yeah.
I've heard, I've seen. So you want to make sure you work with
Mm-hmm.
someone who knows what they're doing, and no one is perfect. Yes, there are going to be kinks in the way that we work. You work through with the person you're working with, but make sure that you trust the person's gifts and talents and experience, and that you think and believe that this person can help you get to your next level. You want to work with people who
Yes.
are where you want to be, and that's no in
Yes.
anything in life, so I serve with the people who are where you want to be, so they can help you walk on that path and that journey
Get
to
there.
get to where they are.
Yes.
And I'm sure if they are where you want to be now, by the time you get there, they're probably wanting to get in higher as well, because that's just how, people who are into self, personal development, that's how we operate, right? I don't want to be the same
Yes.
today that, tomorrow I don't want to be the same that I am today. I want to
Right.
be growing and thriving. So being intentional about who you're putting, who you are um, associating with. But when you have goals, as big as getting a book out, sharing your story, I know that you don't have to do it alone. I don't have to do it alone. When I
Yeah.
started, like, I'm gonna do it all by myself, and I struggled. I struggled. Now I know
You
all
and
the
me
parts of
both.
the process, obviously, because now I'm a publisher as well. But when I started, it wasn't. And even now, the funny thing is, I try to do it all by myself back then, and now that I know how to do parts of it, I know all the parts of it. I don't. I don't do all of it. So I write. We have somebody else. We have a few editors. We have people who do with the formatting, people who do graphics. It's an entire team process.
Yes.
Yeah, so that I can focus on what comes naturally for me. I can do the other things, but it's not things that I want to enjoy. That's not things that it's not my craft, right? But I can do it. Like, I don't like cleaning, but I
Yes.
I, I can clean, right? It's that
Hey.
type of thing. It's the type of life, right? So anyway, make sure that if you're like, it's too much, I can't do by myself. There are others out there that can help you, or you work with me or anybody else. But just remember that you don't have to do it alone. And when you do it with others, you do it better and you do it faster. People ask me, how do
Yes.
you pick up so many books, whether it's collaboration or no, and book and publishing for others, so many of them each month? I said, it's because I don't do it by myself. I don't do it alone.
Yeah.
I might be the mind behind
Yeah.
it. I might be the one writing my part, my piece and stuff, but there's an entire team. So you want to go in. I think I
Yeah.
can't remember who said this, but I heard it said a couple of times recently, and it stuck to me. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with someone else.
I love that.
So you can go far, but you're not going
I
anywhere
love that.
of
Yes.
significance, right? But if
I
you want to
love
go
that.
far in life in general, make sure you're going with someone else. Yeah, people who've been there, people who can support you, people who can help you get to your
Yes.
next level. Yeah. Oh, I just love, love,
I
love
love
talking with
that.
you here. But where can people find you?
Yes. Okay. So everything that I do, I have a nonprofit. It's all through there. So you can find me through my Facebook page. My nonprofit is Like a Rose dash Adelyn Rose.
Okay.
My website is likearosear.org, and on the shop tab, all of my books are there.
Nice.
There is a bundle deal if you purchase all of my books or just one or two. So there's different deals there
Nice.
on my books. So there are the two places. Oh, and Instagram at Like a Rose AR. So that's where I
Awesome.
am.
Awesome. Awesome. So for everyone, please, 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 we'll put those links, in the description here of this
Yes.
interview. So please, please, please follow and support. All right. For all of
Yes.
you out there wanting to write, know that we're doing all these interviews to encourage and inspire you, that your story matters, two, your story needs to be shared, and three, you don't have to do it alone. So feel free to reach out to
Yes.
us. For me, it's graceandhopeconsulting.com. There's a tab for writing. Under there you can see my books, but I also a tab that says publishing, and you can see videos of other authors that have worked with me. But there's also a link there where it says, tell us about your book idea, tell us about your story, and we can start that conversation about how we can possibly be supporting you and getting your story out. All right, thank you everyone, and thank you again, my new friend. I appreciate talking with you today.
Thank you.